Hey guys, welcome to another one of my nocturnal videos. It is definitely way past my bedtime, so I am going to try to be as energetic and conscious as possible, but it is possible that I will not make much sense. So, I was having one of my moments in which I have memories of my past and I think about what my life is like now versus how I felt back then and I was experiencing back then. And I'm just very grateful that my teachers, for example, did not lie to me when they said that stuff would get better. So I thought that I would talk about my experiences with bullying because I think it's something that happens to everybody. And if you never got bullied, it's because you were probably a bully. But we all know that sometimes bullies end up being bullies because they have been bullied themselves. So, anyways, let's just dive into it. And hello, Dan. Indeed, I am a late night girl. And I am going to try to do a good job because I can feel my speech slurring already. Anyways, you guys feel free to share your bullying experiences, for this is the official bullying topic in my channel. So, the first thing that I can remember about my childhood is that in elementary school, I was never really actually actively bullied for the simple reason that my mother used to teach at the very school that I used to attend. But the one thing I remember that I was being picked on is that my father was never around. So, of course, the girls who were daddy's girls felt compelled to compare themselves to me from time to time. And I was like, okay. To me, my father was kind of. I knew he existed, but it's not someone I thought of often at all. So even when my peers would mention him, it didn't really hurt me or bother me, nor did it bother me to see them with their fathers because my mother was always telling me that I had nothing to worry, that she would always make sure that I never lacked anything or needed anything, and she 100% fulfilled that. However, eventually I moved away far from my hometown, and then stuff was just different. And the worst year that I had with bullying, actually, my first year when I truly experienced bullying, was in sixth grade. And that's because I had moved to a completely different place, completely different county. Nobody knew me. I had no family. I had no friends. It was like starting a brand new life. So I vividly remember being afraid of riding the bus because I was bullied at the bus stop. I even got into a fight at the bus stop this same year, and that was the first and the only time I ever got written up in school, simply because I was defending myself from a fucking bitch who kept hitting me and pushing me and calling me things. And eventually I just got tired of it. And then she, took a swing at me and I took a swing at her and we just pretty much fought. And then me trying to be the individual of integrity that I am, I went to, who did I go to? I don't know if I went straight to the principal or to my counselor or assistant principal. I went to fucking somebody. And then they eventually I was at the principal's office and then I was given out of school suspension along with that girl because the bus stop is pretty much treated as a part of school. So of course we had to suffer the consequences, and at the time that this incident took place, it was toward the end of the school year, and I think that on the last 2 weeks before school ends, if you get in trouble for anything, you get automatically sent home. So there was no in school suspension, it was all inherent out of school suspension. So, needless to say, that pissed me the hell off. My mother never signed the referral, nor ever turned it in because she said if I sign this, I am saying that I am agreeing with what this paper is saying, and I sure as hell am not. So that was particularly frustrating because the girl I fought, of course, was a neighbor, and initially we were getting along. But she started changing when she started hanging out with other kids who were clearly bad influences. And it didn't help that I was the new girl. I also looked different, sounded different, and I'll get into those details in a little bit. But that to this day, it still annoys me because that's the only thing that stained my record. But fortunately, events from middle school do not really affect you in your future, like in high school or anything. So when I heard that my record was clean, I was like, perfect. I do not intend for such a thing to happen again. So let's see what Dan is saying. Seventh and eighth grade was so bad I didn't have a dad either. That's what happened to me too. New town, new school. It was terrifying. I am made blackout at your place. No, it's just that at night time I like to just stream in the dark because my thoughts are just better. But yeah, good to see you. Um, in seventh grade, I barely had any type of bullying going on. I only had two incidents that I can recall. One of them was I started wearing glasses and I had to pick the ugliest frames ever, which I made a video of a year ago, and it took all the effort and courage in me to do. And yeah, that didn't help because when you're a kid, for some reason, if you wear glasses, you're inherently ugly or a nerd or some bullshit. So my story was not any different. And honestly, the glasses that I chose, I picked to look very similar to my mother, which is weird because they suit her, but they didn't suit me. And it was just depressing because I was excited and looking forward to them, but for some reason, the ones that I had tried on at the glasses office, they ended up looking different on me after the lenses were installed for some reason. But, anyways, so of course, I was picked on for wearing glasses, and it didn't help that I was never really someone who cared about fashion like that. So, yeah, that was an awful time. And this is going to be one of the stupidest things I ever say in here, but another thing that I got bullied for was because my hair was not straight. Yep, you heard it right. My hair used to be frizzy and poofy and just, it looked like 10 birds were just nesting in there when I was in school. So basically, when anytime it rains and then you guys see me with my hair being all poofy, that stuff is the type of thing that I used to be bullied for. Now, although I was bullied for that, that is not what made me feel like I did not like my hair. I personally had beef with my hair because it has a tendency of being very like fragile and it just tangles easily, and anytime I try to tie it into a ponytail, I have the flyaway baby hairs, and that junk gets annoying. It really does. And then when I brush it, depending on the kind of nourishment that I have put on my hair, like hair products, it will make the ends just poof up and make me look insanely ridiculous. The worst picture ever of myself is my seventh grade yearbook picture, and it's because that very thing happened. I did not have enough moisture in my hair. So from that point onward, I was just my own greatest, biggest hater of my hair. But now that I am an adult and I actually know how the hell to deal with it, I don't mind my hair to the point that I straighten it only once a year or once every 2 or 3 years, and my complexes about it are gone. But I think that it was just frustrating that because I don't have a mirror all the time, I could not always identify when my hair was acting up. So, in a sense, that generated a lot of insecurities about my appearance. But eventually, I got over it because I guess, fortunately for me, I was never someone in love with, like, I did not have a sense of vanity at all. So, I was able to just let go of that. And then, while on the note of appearance, another thing that I would get bullied for was for the way that I dressed. How the hell did I dress? Well, I was the type who dressed in a very modest way. And what I'm trying to say is, I never showed a lot of skin. I never wore shorts, nor skirts, nor V cut tops, nor sleeveless, fuck, sleeveless, why did I struggle? Tops and stuff like that. Whereas the other girls, they were all about showing skin, even though we were 11, 12, 13 years old. And it was just shocking for me that I was being picked on for those little petty things. But it's the stuff that made me happy and comfortable, so I just kept rolling with it. And I also, during my middle school years, occasionally I would wear hair clips that maybe had a flower shape to it or a bug on it or something. So I was being bullied for that because I was being told I was a little kid still, although I was in middle school. And I'm like, bitch, why are you saying that stuff to me when you don't understand that this is a hair? This is meant to hold hair in place. It doesn't matter if it has a flower or a space shuttle in it. What I want it to do is to keep hair out of my face. So, I would give smart answers like that, and of course, that did not help make me popular. So, that had a tendency of fueling my isolation because I felt that if I was going to be judged and just being given a hard time, I'm like, how about if I'm by myself? I do not need that type of influence. So let me catch up with what you guys are saying. Glasses at that age is just goofy. Yeah, I can see that. My daughter cried and cried when she was made to brush her hair because it hurt her so bad to brush it out. You know what? Yes, for me, when mom tried to brush my hair, she would brush my forehead, my ears, my brain, my eyeball, my eyelash, my nose, my neck, the back of my neck. It just, like, my goodness. It just hurt like crazy. And when she would try to do a ponytail hairstyle, it's like she would put spray and shiny stuff in it. I think it's called, is it called Sheen? I don't think it's Sheen. I don't know. I don't use that mess anymore. But she would put these crazy gels on me to avoid the flyaways, and then my hair would just be so stiff. It felt like pasta that had been really, really, really dry and thus glued together inside the package, and you tried to rip them apart and it just couldn't. Or it even felt like hay of some sort. It was just crazy. Just some truly crazy shit. But anyways, um And I know that my mom was always trying to help, but at that age, your parents are trying to impose a style on you, and it may end up being dated. So, because I did not have a fashion sense, again, my mom was trying to do her very best to make me look, neat and tidy going to school. But unfortunately, the times evolved so quickly that the advice that she was giving me that would have been good for her time, it made me look dated as fuck in my time. So again, I don't have any like resentment toward my mother for that, not at all. But it's just that now, as an adult, looking back, when I examine myself and my style, well, I should say the style that was imposed into me because I had no initiative whatsoever, it all makes sense. But anyways, it's just unfortunate. She means well, but what can I say? Who would know that times would change so fast? See what I mean? Let's see. Personally, I reckon the curly hair looks good on you. I appreciate that. It suits you very much. A lot of women pay a ton of money to get perms to look like that. You know what? My father said that to me once. Like 2011 when I visited him, he was like, your hair is so amazing. Da 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 da. A lot of women pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars to have hair look like that for only a couple of weeks. Da 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 da. And they end up damaging it and it falls out or something. Da 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 da. And then at the time, I was still not a big fan of my hair, but funny that you say that it suits me, Viking, because about 2 days ago, I was styling it somehow to like do a little treatment. This was after I vlogged the last clip of the video that I filmed early, or not filmed, but uploaded earlier today. And I was telling myself, you know what? My hair has gotten so long. This is the longest it's ever been. And then I have not altered it in any way, like straightened it or anything. And honestly, I like it. It's like one of the best things that I have heard someone say is that you look the way that you do and are designed the way that you are for a reason. So now that I think about it, if I were to try to change that and permanently have straight hair, I would feel disoriented. Because to tell you the truth, when I straighten my hair, I never thought I would say this, but after 3 days or 4 days, I'm already ready to like dampen it and have it look like fantastic. Fantastic. This thing started saying that it was reconnecting, so I kept rambling. Hopefully, it recorded that part. But I was just saying that after I have my hair straight after 3 days, I'm ready to have it back to normal. And it's just because I miss my regular appearance. It's weird. But anyways, let's see. Jimmy, hello. Says modesty is good, though yeah, it is not a way to be popular. Tell me about it. Then says I make him laugh. I'm glad that you find some stuff that I say as funny. It's so much tougher for girls, especially at that age. Your hair is fine, it fits you perfectly, and hello, Spanky. Um, and I appreciate that. But yeah, on the note of tougher for girls, I can see that because when I think back at those times, it seemed to be that girls were the ones who were scrutinized on this matter, if I'm being honest. I remember all of the girls who used to tell me that they were being picked on over something. Some girls were picked on for being too skinny, some for having their hair too short, or for being too pale, or for being too fat or something, or having too much acne on their face. Petty stuff like that. So it's not easy, but fortunately, it gets better when you get older. It just does. And I just wish that the youth had that present in their minds and were convinced about it. That's the toughest part. Um, Another thing that I was picked on for is kind of weird. It was for making good grades. And the reason for that was because I was being considered the teacher's pet. Or, you know what? Zam is always doing her homework and studying. She's the smart one. She's always making straight A's, but she never talks in class, and all those things did not make me popular pretty much. So no one really wanted to hang out with me except when they would quote unquote forget to do their homework, and then they recurred to me to save their lives, which of course I would decline 90% of the time. But it's just weird that because you are obedient and doing the right thing, that does not make you cool or popular. But, anyways, and then one time, to go back to my initial point of being afraid of riding the bus, something that would happen to me while I was riding the bus is that I would have all the bad bitches sit behind me all the time. And then I vividly remember this one stupid girl who she had something on her finger. I don't know if it was water or maybe she fucking licked it. I don't know. This is so disgusting. But she like shoved her finger into my left ear. And I was so upset, so irritated. I nearly turned around and just smacked her face as hard as I possibly could. But then I remembered what mom would always tell me, which is, whatever you do, avoid confrontation and we'll deal with the consequences later. But I was just so upset and so angry because I kept asking myself, why the hell does that keep happening to me? I don't talk to them, I don't look at them, I don't reference them, period. We are on a different grade. I never have them in any of my classes. I never see them in school. And, as soon as I get on the fucking bus, stuff just happens to me. So, yeah, that was the most upsetting attack ever. That is the one memory that I have of being actually physically messed with to that extent. Well, besides the fight at the bus stop, but that one upset me so much that like if I were to see that girl again, I feel like I would feel the rage from the moment that happened, but I just remember how painful it was in my ear. I'm pretty sure that she went like as far as the canal, but it was just so irritating because ears are something particularly sensitive. But I just remember being so upset. It's ugh, especially not knowing what it was. I'm pretty sure she must have licked it, definitely. That's fucking disgusting. But anyways, another thing that I remember was having my hair pulled by those same people. Like, I would be reading something or looking out the window, and then I would feel like a couple of my hair strands were being pulled, and that little, it feels like a bite from an ant or something, like when your hair is getting pulled. And I kept feeling that and feeling that and feeling that. And then I remember one time I was just so fed up that I just screamed, "Will you stop that?" And like I probably spat on her face. God, I hope I did. But but I snapped, and after that it's like everyone was like, oh, she can actually get, loud, or she got an attitude, da 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 da. And the bus driver, I remember him asking me, what the problem was, and I'm like, these motherfuckers are the problem, and nobody's doing anything about them. And it's about time I said something. I don't know. It was one of my first times ever raising my voice at anybody. So I was like 11 years old, so it's about time. But it was just so upsetting because, you're just resting your head or just sitting like you're supposed to, minding your own business, and then someone has to just, first of all, touch you because my hair is a part of me, and, pulling it, which inflicts pain, and it's just so upsetting. Just don't touch me. So I think part of the reason why I do not enjoy people being within close proximity from me and attempting to touch me is it might stem from that. It's like I just never trusted anybody again really close to me, especially behind my back. And then what else? Another thing that I got sorta bullied for, and this was in middle school, which looking back, why is this even a thing? But something that I was picked on when I was in school was for not having a boyfriend. Not having a boyfriend in middle school, aged 11, 12, or 13. Why is that even a thing? And I understood what it was when I was in eighth grade, and I saw this one guy and this one girl freaking kissing each other on the lips. I was so disturbed, and this happened in the bus. I was just disturbed because I'm like, that is not what kids do. That's what adults do. And, these kids, they were like 13 years old or maybe 12. Yeah, they had to have been 12 because we were on the same grade. So, but yeah, I was like, what in the hell am I witnessing? It just bothered me so much. And on top of that, I had always had a little bit of a germ problem. So at the time, I was just thinking about how unsanitary that gesture was. But of course, later on, I would grow and be like the biggest, like, what can I say, bacteria exchanger ever, mouth to mouth, because it's just my silly way of saying that I have grown to enjoy kissing in relationships, of course. But at the time, as a seventh grader, eighth grader, it was just particularly shocking. And then I understood why I would be bullied for it. I'm like, oh, it is actually a thing to be dating for real. Like, you'll take the matter seriously at that age. And then I understood why there was such thing as kids getting pregnant like that, like at age 14 or 15. And it was just shocking because I had been brought up in a really, what is it? I don't want to say sheltered way, but I was introduced to things um at a gradual pace. So basically, whatever was appropriate for me at the time, that's what I would be introduced to. But for me to suddenly just witness that, it was just shocking. It was just crazy and weird. But anyways, um of course, another way that I got bullied at was being at the bus stop. Particularly, people would just hit me randomly, but it was not hit me to like beat me up and I'm bleeding and bruised and all that. It's just like they would just pick on me, push my backpack, or like hit my leg or something. Just hits, but it's insignificant. And on top of that, two other girls who used to bully me at the bus, they showed up at my house one time. and that they had like five more people, five more girls with them. One of them had a newspaper rolled up, another one had some kind of a stick, and then the leader of the pack, just, I don't even remember. She had a backpack, I think. And then I opened the door when the doorbell rang, and then mom is asking me who they are. And then she saw me flinch a bit. And the girl was asking me if I wanted to just go to the park and have a walk and talk and hang out. And then I was like, no, you are literally the last person in the world I would go out with. So the next day, I was at the bus stop, and then one of the stupid boys who used to mess with me at the bus stop, he was like, "Did you get beat up yesterday by so and so?" And I'm like, "No." And then he was like, "Yes, you did." And I'm like, "No." So basically, that gang went to my house trying to get me to be away from the house so that for some reason they wanted to beat the hell out of me. Either because, I was the person they kept picking on and I was not defending myself, and maybe they thought I was ugly. Maybe they hated me for the way I dressed, whatever it was. They just wanted to hurt me for some reason. I had never initiated a conversation with them. I had never spoken to them. I had never taken anything from them. Like I said, I always minded my business, and for some reason, these people wanted to see me bleed. So at least mom knew better, and I finally told her what was happening. And on top of that, I always felt like I had homework, so that was the priority. And I had to eat by a certain time in the evening, so my curfew pretty much would not have allowed for me to go out. But looking back, it's like, what would have happened if I would have gone, which now I can piece it together. And then another time that I was a victim of bullying, again, it was in the bus, but it was from a source that I never expected, which was these two boys who lived in the same neighborhood as myself. They had a freaking lighter and they tried to burn my hair, and they actually burnt some of it, but it was like a little piece of it to the point that I didn't even notice it. But I just wondered why, when I took a shower, I could smell something burning, and my mother was not cooking. And even when my mother cooked, she did not burn things. So the next day, those boys got in trouble for something, and then the story of my hair being burned somehow came up. And then that's when I truly understood the horrible, aspect of it, which is something could have happened. It could have somehow, the fire could have just been worse. I used to wear hair products that I'm sure were flammable, but maybe on that particular day, I know something happened to where I did not put it on, or maybe I didn't have time in the morning when I was getting ready. Something happened. And what matters is I did not have that stuff on me. But looking back, I'm like, nobody has a water bottle, nobody has water in there. What if that fire would have just, that mess could have burned my skin, it could have deformed me, it could have burned my scalp. And not only the physical damage, but the psychological damage. That shit probably would have been picked up by the news, or maybe I could have been blind. Any fucking thing could have happened to me. But it's just crazy that these boys thought that it would be fun to turn it into a game. You're in a moving bus, and then you're like, "Hey, let's see if I can burn a little piece of this girl's hair." Like, who in their right mind is fucking thinking that, you know? But anyways, fortunately, apparently the damage was not bad because my hair is pretty full. I mean, it's not like it didn't grow from that, but it was just terrible that someone tried to pick on me like that. And these were two guys that I only had one class with one of them, and that was the year before. And I never talked to them, I never messed with them, I never bothered them. And then they tried to play a game with me to see if they could. I don't even know what they were trying. But what matters is they had an illegal object in the school, which was that stupid lighter. And why are you a child with a lighter? But when I think about it, these kids used to actually smoke. You know, 13 years old, smoking. But, anyways, that was just particularly shocking for me at the time. But I'm just glad that everything went okay. That must have really sucked. It's humiliating too. My daughter got bullied too at that age, and it made me feel so bad for her. Yeah, I would imagine that as a parent, you would love to be there with your kids to ensure that they're safe, but of course, you cannot join them in school, so they're pretty much at the mercy of the social circle that they are exposed to. But yeah, it's gotta suck when you feel like there's nothing that you can actively do, for your child. So I can understand that. Girls get bullied for such different reasons. Girls get bullied for things like not wearing makeup. Oh yeah, you reminded me. That's another thing I used to get bullied for. People were like, you never wear makeup. Why? You need it. This and that. You could look a whole lot better." And I'm like, "Bitch, 'cause I don't come here to be a model. I come here to learn, etc., etc. How is this going to be useful for me in the future? Blah, 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 blah." But it was just absurd to me, absolutely absurd. Not wearing the right clothes and getting their period either too early or too late, crazy. I never got bullied for my period because it's not something I ever divulged. And when my period began, I happened to be at home. It was in the summer, like the month of June, I believe. So yeah, nobody knew about any of that. It sounds like you went to school in the Bronx in the 1970s. I don't know, but I went somewhere. Kids are so mean to each other. They're not thinking, sorry, all that crap happened to you. It's all right. What can I say? It doesn't really affect me nor rob me from sleeping, nor did it at the time. It was stressful when I knew that's what I was walking into, like getting into the bus, coming back home in the bus, and everything. But at some point, it just sort of just died out on its own. We went to high school, and in high school, there was some stuff happening in the bus, but fortunately, I was not bothered nor involved in it. But yeah, my freshman year, other stuff happened, but it wasn't related to that. Doesn't rob you from sleeping. Nope, no, I was able to sleep just fine. You know, that's what I mean by that. Like, my sleep was not stolen from me at the time. It's weird. The way I experienced stress as a child, it's okay. I can be a stressed out kid, but it's not like, no. I mean, it happened. Okay, I face it and I get over, you know? Doesn't bother me from sleeping. I meant now. Oh, you mean now? Nah, now it's because I'm trying to be strong and defy the act of aging, and I'm trying to pretend that I'm 15 years old and I can stay up until like what, 3 a.m. But nah, it ain't happening. This is definitely not the speech pattern that that I tend to follow when I'm, a little earlier for streaming. But anyways, but yeah, just reflecting on this stuff now, it's like, wow, it gets so much better. Um, oh yeah, another thing that I got bullied for is for talking about the bullies bullying me. So, pretty much when I started telling all of my teachers and all of my bus drivers and just everybody around Then the bullies were like, why do you have to tell so and so that I am bothering you? Why can you not be quiet about it? Why can you not be like, what would they say? Basically, in their own words, they were saying, why am I not woman enough, or I guess girl enough to handle it and be quiet? I'm like, bitch, no, you're bothering me. I'm fed up with it. I want you to be dealt with, you know? So it was just so dumb and so stupid, but it was insane that when I started to take action, that's what they started picking on me for. Oh, you're talking about us? Well, then I'm gonna make sure that I give you hell for telling on us. It's like, grow the fuck up. Another instance of being bullied that I remember was seventh grade. Um, we were out at the soccer field, and for whatever reason, we were all out there. So all of the seventh graders were at the soccer field. It must have been like an intramural or something, some kind of activity. But what matters is I was hanging out with a girl, and unbeknownst to me, this girl was a lesbian. And that it's not that she had a thing for me or anything, but because her orientation was, you know, everyone knew about it, it was assumed that any girl she would talk to, must be involved with her or some bullshit. And this girl was actually a pretty good girl. She could play music, she had good grades, she had a pretty nice personality, she was responsible. And, anyways, so we were good friends. And, well, we were not the bestest of friends, but we were beginning to get to know each other and become really good friends. So, one time I was trying to like sneak up on her on this particular day that we were all at the soccer field, and then this stupid boy who would always get in trouble for the stuff he said, for not doing homework, and also for freaking not taking a shower, because that boy just did not smell good at any given time. Um, he decided that because I was sneaking up on Selena and I was like ducking in a sense, like just surreptitiously trying to like, greet her like surprise, or try to scare her or something. He decided to say that I was being a lesbian because of the way that I was like approaching her. Like supposedly I was, you know how when you kind of crouch, it's like your chest is kind of like sticking out or something? Well, he was trying to say that I was like showing her my non existent breasts or something. And I'm like, bitch, get the fuck out. So then my teacher later, when the event ended, she came over to me and she was like, so there was this boy, and then his group of friends were saying that you are gay, da 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 da, what's happening. And then I'm like, why do I have to explain that? I mean, what is gay? Which back then I really didn't understand the concept so well. I knew that it meant liking someone who is the same as you, but not the big deal aspect of it. And I was like, no, this stupid boy said this about me just because I was hanging out with my friend who I just learned has her tendencies, and now he's trying to associate me with that because he has no fucking life. And then my teacher, she dismissed the case, but it was just infuriating that this boy would say such a thing. And it's not like back then I had, anything against people who are gay. It's just weird that you're picking on me and accusing me of being something that I am not. Just because I actively expressed that I was not into guys or interested in them, like to date them because I felt immature and my mother would have never allowed it, doesn't mean that I don't have an interest for them or that I will not develop interest for them. And you're just trying to impose or suggest that because I'm not into guys like everyone else is, like dating at age 12, that there must be something quote unquote wrong with me. No, I was just raised different. So, to sum it all up, I was being bullied for my values. That's another thing that I would get bullied for. Oh, how come you don't go out with boys? Oh, how come you don't go to parties? Oh, how come you don't celebrate your birthdays by, I don't know, traveling or whatever it is that we used to do for birthdays when we were young. And I'm like, not everyone has to live life just like you. But looking back, it's just amazing how much stress that can inflict on a child. But thankfully, I was well emotionally supported by my mother to where I minimally suffered from that. But looking back, it's just dumb. And when I think about it, all of these kids who I'm talking about, they had something going on in their lives. Like the girl who went to my house to like drag me to the park to beat me up or something, her mother was dead. And then all of these other girls who used to bully me at the in the bus or anywhere else in school, they didn't have fathers. What else? Other folks were adopted. So, broken homes, pretty much. That seemed to be the common symptom. But I would tell myself that is not a good enough excuse because how come I have a broken home myself, but I am not acting stupid like they are? I'm not picking on people. I'm not bullying anybody. I'm still doing my work. I'm still a functional straight A student. So that's not right. So now that I'm an adult, of course, I can critically think about it and be like, okay, when you don't have, what is it? The difference is that I had good leadership from my mother, whereas these kids, they did not have a very positive leadership at all. So these kids are learning in the streets, pretty much. And it sucks, you know. Now looking back, I feel bad for them. And now I wonder where they are in their lives now. It's gotta be rough for them, but anyways. And then another thing that I can think of that I used to be picked on was for being fat. Like I have always had like this problem with my stomach to where I tend to be skinny fat. It's like the rest of me stays pretty slim, but my belly has always been like just big. It's like I've been pregnant since the day I was born. So that's something that I used to be picked on because when I would sit down, my shirts would sort of like roll up and expose my belly and my sides and whatnot. So, of course, kids would see that as shocking and ugly. And what I loved the most about my story is that the folks who used to pick on me for my so called belly protruding, they were fat bitches themselves. So, I do not know why they had the nerve to say that to me, but anyways, now presently I ended up losing a whole lot of weight, whereas they are looking like cows grazing the pastures. So I get to have the last laugh. And then finally, of course, very obvious, another thing that I used to get picked on was for my accent. And I'm like, well, I don't need to explain that. All you have to know is that I was raised by a lot of different people. So when you, during your youth, have exposure to people who speak different, of course you're going to pick up a different sound. So it just sucked that I had to constantly be explaining why I sounded funny or something something, but nowadays I just let that mess just fuck itself. I understand that I don't have to explain myself anymore, whereas as a child, I felt obliged to answer questions out of the sake of courtesy. But nowadays, it's like I come up with funny stories or just bullshit stories altogether to explain why that is. Sometimes I say, my parents died in a plane crash and I was raised, by a complete foreigner or a complete stranger, or I only learned to speak when I was 7 years old. Whatever I feel like pulling out of my ass to explain that, that's what I do. So I've turned it into a game. But but yeah, you guys, those are pretty much the most outstanding stories of me being bullied. I cannot think of anything else that I may need to mention, but yeah, despite all of that, none of that haunts me, none of that makes me miserable or not sleep at night. And yeah, the only reason I'm not sleeping right now is because apparently some guys can only watch me when I'm up late or something, so I'm trying to accommodate everybody. But it's just weird looking back at how your mentality changes when you're a kid. You can just be a evil little fuck, but then you just become a whole lot better. And I'm just glad that most of us move on and become better from that. But yep. Let's see. Jailhouse rules. I like your voice. I miss seeing your pretty face, but it is nice to hear stories about you. Joined, and all I hear is get the fuck out. Well, what a convenient timing. Or as they say, convenient timing is convenient. Alright, guys, I think I am going to pretty much wrap this up here. I really don't have anything else to add, so if you guys got any more stories, I would love to read them. Let me know what it is that you've been going through or you went through when you were a kid. And I guess another question would be, how does bullying in the present differ from the bullying that you yourself may have experienced in your own time? Because I know that some stuff that we may get bullied for may not have been existent during your time. So I'm always curious about that. So let me know if there's anything noteworthy or something like that. I always like to hear something that is different.